What's good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Land Grant Podcast Network's I-80 Football Show. As always, I'm your host, Jordan. I'm here with my co-host, Dante.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going. I'm good.
Yep.
How about yourself?
Same. I had a few interviews this week, so yeah.
That's what's up.
Mhm.
I don't. I know I said this before. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but I am trying to lose weight before my birthday, and so I started working out again. Which nothing crazy. It's been like 2 days, but I'm happy because I wasn't forcing myself to work out. So even 2 days, is something.
Yeah,
And I'm probably going to try to work out after this too, just to kind of stay in the routine, especially because I'm going to Maryland tomorrow.
nice.
But I just been doing some at home stuff because I'm just like I talked about, like it's expensive to do stuff out here, and it's like if I'm not going to work out at home, I don't need to be paying money for a
Very
gym
true.
I'm not going to use. So I'm
Very
trying
true.
to get through January. And then, if I stick to it, then I'll probably get a gym membership back and start doing that and try to.
I need to start going back to the gym. My legs are feeling healthy enough that I think I'll be fine going back. Stretching still hurts. I really might have to get them looked at. That's why I've been really on this job hunting thing now. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get them looked at. But right now, I think I could do about some upper body stuff. I could do lower body stuff. It's
Just
just
not.
not too crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy. Which is lucky because all I was about to do, well, I had started it was just low weight, high reps.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah.
so I was like, well, we're right in the right phase anyway. So we're good.
Yeah. True. Have you seen the 225 nonsense?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's people trying to say that bench pressing 225 pounds is light. Yeah, exactly. And everybody is like, dog, do you know that I'm making up numbers because I don't remember, but it's like less than 10% of the world consistently goes to the gym. Of those who consistently go to the gym, even a smaller percentage of that can actually rep out 225. Like,
Right.
yes, you may be able to do it, but it is not common. There are people in the NFL who can't rep 225, and there are 100% people in the NBA and other things like that. The NBA's their bench isn't even set at 225. I think
I
it's
don't
like
think so.
185.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
because I know what's his name, KD only got what, like 5 reps up. Or
yeah,
whatever?
something crazy. Yeah.
At his combine.
Yeah, so I was just like, I didn't know if you had seen that. It comes up like every 4 or 5 months, and it's just like, bro, that is not easy.
I've never seen that. It's extremely difficult.
It's rare, especially because it's not even just about being strong. It's about being able to do it in a gym too. Like there are people who have a lot of functional strength who can't bench 225, and then obviously on the other side, there's people who can bench whatever and don't have any functional strength because it's legitimately just training a certain set of muscles, and it's like a technique thing too, a little bit. Like no, I just thought that was funny.
I did not know that was a thing. Yeah, no, it's not easy to do. I'm telling you right now, if I was lucky, 1 rep right now. 1 rep.
Yeah.
If I was lucky.
So last time I did it, I think I maybe got 2. And it was like a couple months ago. Maybe a little bit more than that.
The last time I did it was around this time last year. If
I did it sometime last year, but it wasn't this time. It was like whatever, when I was still regularly going to the gym. But the thing is, it also confirmed a theory of mine because I used to complain all the time about how much I hate Planet Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
I repped 225 like 5 or 6 times at Planet Fitness. And then I did it on free weights and I could only get it like 1.5, 2 times. And I'm like, I knew the bench, the assisted bench, it takes weight off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but I could never prove it. And like for people who I talk to like my wife and other people about it, and they're like, no, it's the same thing. It's just assisted. And I'm like, it takes weight off. And so like I'm like, I have a video of me at Planet Fitness with my brother, and I'm like repping it. And then I went to a gym with free weights, and like I said, I think I got it like 1.5 or 2 times, but I was struggling. Like that first one, I was like, I really felt it. I was like, oof. And like, like if you can lift something, sometimes you can get it up to 1 just off the momentum. But then when you go back, I can't remember if I got it the second time and couldn't do 3, or if I couldn't go fully up the second time. It was no more than 2 though, for sure, no more than 2. And I was like, yeah, first of all, yeah, that assisted bench, it takes weight off.
Yeah, yes, it does. It definitely does.
And I don't think it's an insignificant amount of weight either.
No, I did it. It might have been like February or March of last year because I was at the gym with Brandon, and he decided to like want to do that. He's like, "See if you can do it." See, this is right after doing like incline bench too, which was
I'd never do incline bench.
I do because it works a different part of the chest shoulder muscle, so that's why I do it. Like it gets that upper, and that's why I do decline too because it gets
up in here too. That. I never needed that. I do different.
I'm trying to shape it up, you know, like, but I did. I think we did. I think I might have got 2, maybe 3, but I know that second one was the worst one.
Yeah,
because I got it up and went.
And then you're like, oh, I gotta do this again. I gotta do this again.
I don't know.
The arms start to shake a little bit. Yeah.
And I was like, let's crack that. Let's go ahead and take that weight off.
Yeah, I'm gonna accept my 2. No, yeah, it's crazy. It's a whole discourse, and I'm just like, y'all are so.
No, it's difficult to do.
Y'all are weird, bro. Like, why are you saying this? I like, yeah, no.
Because what's the point? What's the point you're trying to prove here that like most of the world can't do what you think should be easy? You're the outlier. Congratulations. Like I don't know.
Like there are people who can't like just normal who can't do 135. Like
yeah, I know that the rule was at least be able to lift your own weight, but I didn't know to do 225. Like that's crazy.
See, lift your own weight is fat phobic. I haven't lifted my weight since high school. I lifted my weight since high school.
It's like I think with bench is like a certain percentage, and then with squat you should be able to squat your own weight.
Oh, I can squat my weight. I can squat my weight. I thought you were talking about bench. I'm like, hey dog, what we talking about? We just said 225 is hard. You trying to like
do your own weight is fat phobic. Yeah. I was not prepared. I haven't
been 225 since high school. I was like 215 my senior year, something like that. I was like 210, like 6 foot 210, so 215. And then I gained a little bit because I was working, but I was like landscaping, so I didn't gain a whole lot. And then after that freshman 15 hit, I haven't been 225 since freshman year at college. So yeah, that's fat phobic.
I'm currently I'm probably like 206 right now. Yeah, and I probably
whoever said that's that dude that weighs 179 pounds and he could lift 185 and he said, yeah, you gotta bench your own weight.
I'm 206 right now and I probably couldn't even bench my own weight. I probably couldn't bench 200 pounds right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a percentage of your weight that you should be able to bench at some point when you're getting in shape, and you should be able to lift, as in like squat, lift your body weight.
Yeah, I could do that. I don't squat anymore. Almost never squat because I have a problem with my back, and so my doctor told me that like my back is like a spring, like you know when you take the little spring out the pen and you like press it down, it's like that's basically what my spine does when I squat. So I don't squat with a lot of weight, but
fair enough.
I know I can. I've always been able to squat like a lot, but I almost never do it anymore because I don't want to mess my back up.
No, that's fair.
It's actually the reason I don't really bench a whole lot either because I messed up my shoulder. The more I talk, the more I'm just like, I have so many like random injuries. Like, I don't do this because like, you know what I mean? Because in my head.
It's funny because it was just my shoulder for the longest until I pulled both of my hamstrings at some point last year.
Well, so the crazy thing for me is it's really only 3, but it's like 3 of the worst you can have, in my opinion, as far as everyday living, like normal things. So I broke my wrist, and my parents didn't want me to get the surgery, so it never fully healed right. So I can't really do push-ups. I typically use like a push-up bar because putting my body weight on my wrist, like I like even like if I write with a pen too long, my hand aches. And I used to get like shots in my wrist. Like it gets better once in a while. I would go and get cortisol shots in my wrist, which do not do. I've had to get them in my wrist and my shoulder. If you do not have a high pain tolerance, it's not worth it.
Oh,
I will tell you right now, think about all the bones you have in your arm and your wrist. The needle has to go through the bone, like next to the bone into your wrist. Very painful. And then in my shoulder, it literally went up underneath my shoulder, like because it had to get into the muscle in my shoulder. So it literally went up through like my clavicle, not my clavicle, my it's not my shoulder blade either. What is this one called?
collarbone?
It is a collarbone. They literally went right up underneath my. It's very painful if you don't have a high pain tolerance. So I've had to get them in my wrist, and then obviously my shoulder.
I'm good.
And then I have
I'll just let it hurt. I'll just let it hurt.
And then I have I have like a curved spine. So it's just like but it's only things that's like messes up normal day. Like having a bad wrist, normal day. Like having a bad back, normal day. Having a bad, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't have nothing. I've never torn nothing, barely sprained my ankle. Like all that's fine. And then it's just like the stupidest stuff that you could just like, yeah.
You see, whereas
but it really affects being in the gym.
Yeah. No, I believe
anything.
I believe you. Nah, that's the one thing I've been trying to do, because I know whatever I did in my shoulder my senior year never truly healed properly. So I'm just trying to strengthen it. I've been trying to strengthen my shoulders for the longest, because there was a point in time I'd bench and not be able to do anything.
No, yeah, my arm would go numb.
That's all up in here. It'd just be my shoulder. I'm like, I can't.
So my arm would go numb to my fingertips. I literally went into the doctor and told them they had to do the surgery because I was young and it wasn't a full tear. And so they thought that it would heal, and it wasn't healing. And I said, I've done the therapy. I've done the shots. You are going to give me the surgery.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I probably should get some stuff looked at, because I can't. There's some days that's why I don't do high rep or like high weight when I bench anymore, because I know if I do, it's gonna mess up my shoulder, and now I can't do any upper body workout for like 3 days. Yeah.
But like it's really, the wrist is the worst one for me, because you think of like all the HIIT or high intensity, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of like push-ups. It's a lot of like mountain climbers, burpees, like stuff where you have to like hold yourself up. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't do that. When I do it, if I don't have like a bar, I'd have to do it on my fist because it just creates like more of a straight, like up and down. And so I put it on, I do it on my fist, like right up under me, and I can knock out a couple. But like traditional, like spreading it out where like your wrist is not 90 degrees, that a weird, I can't. Yeah, so
with
like,
your ankle bent.
It knocks out so much of like the do this and jump on this and do mountain climbers and bear crawl and all that stuff. I'm like,
no, I get it. I feel
not me, pimp. But yeah, so we don't have much news, and we really don't have much in the show. We graced you all with 12 minutes about
how old we are.
Yeah. The only bit of news, and I know we haven't done a lot of this, but I want to talk about it because I think it's significant. We've kind of avoided the transfer portal stuff, but Iowa landed South Dakota State's quarterback, Mark Gronowski. Not Gronkowski, but very close. Gronowski. They from the same regions, got to be. He is 6'3", 230. He's been their starting quarterback for the last 3 years. And he won them 2 of their national championships, and he took them to the quarterfinals this year. So super successful. I don't know if it was their first national championship, but it was along for a while. I think he's 3-0. And against North Dakota State, who's the dynasty, they just won their like 12th championship this year. So he's pretty good. I think he's been the quarterback for 3.5 years. I think he took over at some point in 2020. So in 3.5 years, he has a 63% completion percentage, not spectacular. He has 10,000 yards, 93 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions. And the 93 touchdowns and 20 interceptions is really where I want you to pay attention. Because there's not a single Iowa quarterback in the last decade, I think, that would have gotten close to those numbers. So I just thought it was interesting because,
including the interception part, because they probably
specifically the interception.
Because they wouldn't be throwing the ball. Like
that's essentially almost a 5-to-1 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Like it's almost exactly. He's 7 touchdowns short, but it's almost exactly a 5-to-1 ratio.
Yeah,
so. No, like Iowa quarterbacks, we have a 1-to-5 ratio. Like, you know what I mean? So I just think it's interesting. Obviously, we know that Iowa's defense took a step back. They were still good, but they weren't great. But their offense took a step up. But it kind of put them in a weird place. If this guy can do what he did at San Diego, South Dakota State, Iowa, like,
you don't even need to do exactly those.
No, he just needs to, like, this year he threw for. This was his. So the least encouraging thing, I guess I would say, is that this year was his worst year.
Mm-hmm.
He threw for 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and a 60% completion percentage. Iowa would have won 10 games with this, and they'd have been in the playoffs.
Yeah,
like it's still a step above what they've had, which is the important thing. If they can keep the offense and
the weapons, though, they need to get.
Well, they only have one, but they do have that one freshman that's really good, Vander Z or something like that. He's pretty solid. I don't know what else they're going to have. I think Caleb Burton is either out of eligibility or he's going to the league. So they do have some other things, but I just thought this was notable because when's the last time Iowa has had a good quarterback? And this guy, not only just that, right? Like football is so much about intangibles. He's a winner. You know what I'm saying? Like he has 2 national championships at the FCS level. And they have a really long playoff, so like that's winning like a decent amount of games, and different things like that. So I think that's also going to be like a good, probably a good person in the locker room and stuff like that. Yeah, and true. He has size. He's 6'3", 230. He's going to be hard to tackle. Oh, that's the other thing that I missed. He also runs the ball. And in his 3.5 years, he has 1,700 yards and 37 touchdowns. This year, he ran the ball for 380 yards and 10 touchdowns.
He has a combined 130 touchdowns
in 3.5 years.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. And he's
averaged 1,200 yards total.
Yeah, this year it's 1,700 rushing yards.
1,700, and you had
you said 12,000. Yeah.
Total. Yeah.
It's funny how this matches up because it's 93 and 37, and then it's 10, 30 and 17, so it almost matches up exactly. Yeah, he has basically exactly 1,200 total, 12,000 total yards and 130 touchdowns.
That's that'll give you that'll have you in Heisman talk for the past 3 years, really, if you're doing that.
Yeah, so in one of his years, like, it would have been decent, right? Like, he threw for 3,000 yards and 29 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That would have been, depending on who else did something, that could have put him close to the Heisman. So, yeah. I thought that was worth mentioning.
That will
They still need some things on defense, of course, right? They need to, like you said, they need
people for him to throw the ball to.
Right, they need that, but and he's only going to be a 1-year guy. He's been in school forever, but I think
they know that.
I think if they do a couple of other things, and we have to look at their schedule, and we're not projecting and doing all this stuff, it's not that time. We have a whole offseason to do that. I could very easily see Iowa in the playoffs next year at like 10-2. Like I'm not going to go as far to win the Big Ten, and I'm not doing that. But like if Iowa was 10-2 this year, they may have gotten in. I really think they could get in. I really think they could do a 10-2 and get in. So
I can see that happening.
Yep. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we are going to it's straight ball. We're talking the playoff games that include 2 Big Ten teams, and then we're going to get out of here. So we will be right back after the ad break. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Land Grant Podcast Network's I-80 Football Show. We're here to talk ball. We're here to talk ball. Today is Thursday, January 9th, as you're listening to it, not as we're recording, which means Penn State plays today. Ohio State plays tomorrow. I still hate the fact that college football is so afraid of the NFL that they're playing semifinal games on Thursday and Friday. That is disgusting.
And it's January 8th.
Yeah.
This season could have been over with, if we're being honest.
And Dante, the national championship is 11 days from the day that this drops. It's 12 days from when we're recording. Yeah. So
2 whole weeks?
Yes.
Why are we going to the end of January?
That's a good question.
There's no way there's no way you're making that much money in this amount of time frame. So what are we doing?
I don't know, man. I don't know. We talked about it. We talked about the schedule. So I did this on the Power 2 podcast, but I know not everyone listens to both. So I just want to run down this really quickly, and it's nice to get your opinion. I want to just talk a little bit about all 4 coaches, and then we'll just knock out the 2 previews, because this is a Big Ten podcast. We have 2 Big Ten teams. There's a chance that we get a Big Ten national championship. That is glorious. That's perfect. We've been doing this for 3 or 4 years, feels like forever, and this is by far the best season that the Big Ten has had. And it's good for me because even if Penn State wins, they're not Michigan, so I can actually celebrate. Although if they beat Ohio State, I'm still going to be sick. I'm sorry, I can't celebrate a Michigan championship. I can't do it. I try to be all for the conference, but to me, the Big Ten has 17 teams, and then the fucking evil empire. Okay,
yeah,
so
what's funny is that y'all could be seen as the evil empire.
That's fine,
right?
That's fine. But from the evil empire's perspective, they're the evil empire. So who's right? All right. So the 4 coaches, and this is big for a lot of reasons, but just to in general, right? These are 4 coaches who've never won a national championship. So I just want to walk down a little bit of what I know about them, get your opinion, just to kind of talk about the weight of this, because, right, like there are 2 current coaches who in college football who have won national championships. Dabo, who is nowhere close to winning one, and Kirby Smart, who may win one next year. He's still good, but like there's a void of coaches who've won a national championship.
Dabo is just as close as Kirby.
I'm not gonna let you derail me on that today.
At least I was gonna say.
I'm not gonna let you.
I don't like it either. But
yeah, I'm not gonna let you.
One and gun was for both of them teams. Like,
yeah, you're right. So I want to start with the non-Big Ten coaches. We'll go through them pretty quickly, and then we'll get to the actual coaches that matter on this Big Ten podcast. So I want to start with Steve Sarkisian, because whatever. So Steve Sarkisian, this for him is more kind of like a personal redemption story, right? He was one of those, like white wonder kid coaches who gets a job and gets a big job, relatively young. He got the USC job, and he was supposed to turn them around and do all of this stuff. And then he essentially gets fired for being an alcoholic, showing up to practices and booster events drunk and things like that. And it spirals. It becomes this whole big thing because he tries to sue the university and say that they fired him instead of letting him seek help. And the university's like, you never once admitted to having an alcohol problem. So how could we get you help if you were lying? So it's a very disgraceful kind of thing, which is crazy when you really think about college football, because there's a lot of things that coaches do and people do that are much worse than having a personal alcohol problem. I think sometimes the way the United States views and talks about addiction is a problem, but that's not, my battle to fight right now. So he gets fired, goes off in disgrace, whatever. He works. I think he goes to the NFL for a little bit. He goes to Nick Saban's coaching rehabilitation program. If Nick Saban's had so many of these coaches, but if I remember correctly, he is the Bryce Young offensive coordinator.
I believe so.
Maybe it's Mac Jones. He's definitely the Mac Jones. He's definitely the Mac Jones one. And maybe the first year Bryce Young. They won a national championship. And he gets the Texas job. He revives Texas. Texas was in the dumps by Texas standards. Some years were really bad. Other years it was just like they're the worst 10-2 team in the country. Like nobody fears them, but they're in the Big 12. He revitalizes them. maybe this is his third year, maybe it's his second. I don't remember exactly, but either way, in the last 2 years, he back-to-back playoff appearances, once in the 14 playoff, once and obviously this year the 12-team playoff. And so for him, this is more of like a big kind of personal redemption story of just like being given a second chance. And DJ mentioned this in the last podcast, and we won't get stuck on it, but it is also, nice that he was able to get a second chance because there's a lot of coaches who wouldn't. So you do have to acknowledge that, but that would be kind of his thing. Marcus Freeman, he, in my opinion, has the least at stake because he's the youngest coach.
Yeah.
But in a way, you could almost say he has the most to gain because he's the youngest coach, right? So, like, he's only been at Notre Dame for 2 years. I mean, he hasn't had these kind of like big ups and downs. His is
I was
more
about to ask how long. I know it's recent that he got the job. I just couldn't remember how long he's been there.
I think this is his second season.
Okay.
No, second or third. Time is a flat circle, so I honestly couldn't tell you for sure, but I think it's his second.
What's his name again?
Okay, sorry. It's third total, second year as head coach. He was there for a year as a coordinator, and then he became the head coach last year, and then this is his second year. That you can Google it, but that's for sure. I remember now. So for him, his is kind of, I mean, winning a national championship is huge. But when you talk about the other coaches and the things that they've been through, he just kind of hasn't been through that because he's such a young coach and young in general. But he would be the first Black coach to ever win a national championship. He'd be the first Asian coach. I don't want to just like, you got it. He claims both his heritages, so you have to talk about both. So he'd be the first Black, he'd be the first Asian coach to win a national championship. He, first coach at Notre Dame to win a national championship in a very long time. And it would just it would support his kind of self-belief and his belief in the program. Because if you remember, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to LSU because he thought he couldn't win a national championship there. And 2 years later, when Brian Kelly's LSU basically sucks and just lost to a 6-6, lost to a 6-6 USC team that struggled in the Big Ten and stuff like that, for Marcus Freeman to go through, and in this case, beat Georgia and beat Penn State, and then beat Ohio State or Texas. If we're talking about winning a national championship, that's something that just Brian Kelly just could not do. He would not. This would not have made that run. That's huge for him. And like he said, he's the youngest.
I would say it's huge. I don't know, Brian Kelly with this team, if he had this team.
But Brian Kelly couldn't get this team. That was part of the problem. He couldn't recruit like this to Notre Dame.
Fair enough. Because I would say, like, with a 12-team playoff, there's a chance that he gets in and gets a shot. But no, I get what you mean. With this being his second year, and you're saying, like, you're right. Every other coach has a lot more at stake. So this should be he should be the calmest coach on the field in both of these games coming up. Because, like you said, he's young. He really has nothing to lose. I think the program believes in him, whether people outside do or not. Though it seems that the program does, and his players do. I would have to say that. So coming into this game, he should be the calmest coach. I would say next to Ryan Day, Penn State's coach, probably. I guess has the tighter, for a lack of term, butthole. Honestly, sadly, it's the best way I could describe it. Sadly, but I agree. He'd be the probably most on edge next to Ryan Day in this regard. Because, what is this, your biggest opportunity since you've been there? You've been there 12 years, something.
Yes, like 12, something like that. He's the longest tenured of all of them.
Yep.
He's been at Penn State for like 12 years. He was at Vanderbilt for a couple years before that. I don't know if Vanderbilt was his first job. He may have had a job before that. James Franklin is somehow in like mid-50s.
Really?
Yeah, like he's like 54, 55.
I mean, I think my time.
Like he kind of has to be. He kind of has to be with how long he's been coaching. But like you don't really kind of think about that. But he's like 54, 55.
52, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I gave him 2 years.
Yeah, he's offensive coordinator for you wouldn't know. So as a head coach, Vanderbilt and Penn State are his only two coaching.
Okay.
But, uh,
And I mean, he was the first coach, maybe ever, but for a long time to win at Vanderbilt. Um, he helped turn Penn State around, but at the same time, he's been dealing with a lot of his own
from
flaws, right?
1996 to
Um,
2011.
talking about just kind of like his lack of showing up in big games, small game James, weird coaching decisions. He's had a lot of trouble hiring offensive coordinators, a lot of trouble developing quarterbacks. For up until the last 2 years, he
Yeah,
had a lot of trouble on the offensive line. Last year's offensive line was amazing, but like before that, like his offensive line was a big problem, and he just kind of did this thing where he would get one or two star players, but he couldn't do much with them, right? Like he had Micah Parsons, right? He had Saquon Barkley, right? He had these guys, but he wasn't built. I mean, he's had one of the best secondaries in the country for like 10 years. But
yeah,
like all these safeties get drafted, Jaquan Brisker, like all these guys, but like it just felt kind of like piecemeal because he wasn't kind of first of all, didn't have the quarterbacks, and he didn't, again, and a lot of the times didn't have the offensive line. And he has just a really, really bad record, in top 10 games. And he was kind of very clearly that third level, right? If you put Georgia, let's say Alabama, just say Alabama, even though Georgia has kind of taken their place the last 2 years, Alabama by itself, right? And then you put Georgia historically, Ohio State, Clemson, those kind of teams in tier two. And then Penn State was clearly the best team in tier three, that team that just could never break through, that could beat everyone but the tier two teams, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Georgias, the Bamas, those teams. And so this is his chance, right? Everyone said that he would be the biggest beneficiary of the 12-team playoff. Well,
hmm
right? Like, and he is. I mean, he's won 2 games, right? Like, I'm
yeah.
not going to take that away from him. Some people will try to take that away from
And
him.
played well. Honestly, even in it could have been almost 3 straight wins because they played really good and almost won the Big Ten. So
Yeah, against Oregon, yeah, they did.
yeah,
And so like some people will try to discredit him because it was Boise State and it was um, SMU, but like there's
those
still
teams are
playoff
really
games,
good
right?
teams.
Like,
I don't understand. Those are
yeah,
really good football teams.
I'm not going to do that. And so,
Yeah.
but it is also still true that beating Notre Dame would be a different level. Like losing to Notre Dame to Penn State fans would feel like losing to Ohio State, and there would be a part of that fan base that says you still can't beat the big teams. Even if they say those teams are good, you still can't win the really big game. You still can't win. And it's kind of moving the goalposts a little bit, right? And I think and I hope that no matter what happens, that they celebrate this season, but you never know. And then the last one is the big one. It is super easy. Ryan Day was on the brink of being fired. Should have been.
Was he?
No, I don't
Okay,
believe
I was about to say, he
should
was
have been
not.
on the
He
brink of
was.
being fired. The fan base and it was kind of really over
That's what I
him.
was saying. He was on the brink of
And
being fired by the fan base, but
well,
literally being on the brink of it, I don't think so.
yeah, but I think that's a flaw in Ohio State because you know I don't believe in flip flopping. I will recognize the good that he's done, and I think that the good that he's done has come from hitting rock bottom. But you still can't have this, and you still can't have this roster and lose 4 straight to Michigan and not even compete for the Big Ten championship for 4 years. And I was listening to one of the few Ohio State podcasts I listen to because Ohio State podcasts are awful. So like, oh my god, they're so bad. The, and one of the guy was saying like, this makes me happy, but it also makes me so mad because what the hell was that game plan against Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I'm not gonna do revisionist history. I see a bunch of people. I'm sorry, Ryan Day, I was wrong. I wasn't wrong. You got better. Good job.
Yeah,
So,
you did
but
what
this
you were
is
supposed to
still
do because you were
huge for
bad.
him
Yeah.
because he's been there for 6 years. He's had the second or third best roster in the sport for 6 years. He's had the second or third, in some cases, the best quarterback in the sport for some of those years. 3 straight first round picks before Kyle McCord, right? done all these things, but at the same time, and this is also true of Marcus Freeman, because I think Ryan Day got to his first national championship in his third year. He's learning on the job, right? Ohio State, Notre Dame should not be your first job. USC, I think, was maybe Sark's first job as well. Should not have been his first job, and so those are some of the biggest jobs in America, and you should not be hiring a first time head coach for those, but you are. And Ryan Day, and I've said this forever, this is the one constant thing that I've said about him, is he always learns, but he learns a year too late. And this year, it feels like he's finally learning in season, right? The difference between the team that showed up in Michigan and the team that showed up against Tennessee and then the team that showed up against Oregon has been totally different. He learned in season. He didn't need the offseason to take a break to figure out what he did wrong. And so him still obviously learning on the job, 4 straight losses to Michigan, being able to win a national championship first solidifies him, right? It quiets some of the noise. It makes a lot of people happier with him. It's a huge thing for himself and his legacy and things like that.
His
but it
first
also
job was actually Washington.
Okay. So that's a good first job. That's a good first job. That's right. He was successful there, and then
that's why he got the USC job.
Yeah,
Washington. Yeah, that makes sense.
I forgot about that, but that does make sense. Washington's a good first job. So yeah, it's just like I mean, this would be so big for Ryan, especially because the thing is, like, he is 6 years, right? He is still a young coach. He's in his 40s. He's ultimately going to get better, hopefully, maybe, but hopefully, and being at Ohio State, in my opinion, of all of these teams, and I don't think that there's going to be a dynasty again, right? I don't think that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But if there's any team that could get close to a dynasty, it would be Ohio State. And so if like this could potentially unlock something for him if he learns the lesson,
Georgia
and things like that. Yeah, but I mean the 14th tier, not just
okay.
So I mean, it'd be huge for Ryan Day, right? Like, he's had a lot of ups and downs. He's gotten close. He's been to the national championship. He's been to the playoffs. You wouldn't believe it, but he has won the Big Ten once. It was a long time ago, but he did win it once. And so this is kind of
his first year.
Yeah. Maybe he's won it twice. Maybe
I was about to say, I think he won it his first 2 years, and then since
lost 4 straight,
they haven't played in it.
Yeah. So, that's that. I think that is kind of the lay of the land for those 4 teams, for the 4 coaches. Anything to add or kind of thoughts as I kind of
from what I've already said the most about, because I've talked about James Franklin and Ryan Day a lot. Like Ryan Day and James Franklin are pretty much the same coach in my eyes. It's just James Franklin might be just a notch, and not that much of a notch lower than Ryan Day, because Ryan Day has had a little more success overall. But they should have the same type of not anxiety, but like worry going into this game. Ryan Day probably a little bit more because the job itself is just more prestigious in the football landscape than Penn State is. Penn State's a very historical and beautiful, great job, but technically Ohio State's just a better one. So I would say those two. Steve Sarkisian, I didn't know anything about the alcohol. I knew nothing about why he lost or left USC and stuff like that, and that being a reason why. And to be able to 2 years after getting the job to be playing right for a national championship, you're right there. So that's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Against he has to coach a perfect. They both do actually. Ohio State has to coach a perfect game too, but I think Texas has to coach an even more perfect game, because again, the best game from the playoffs so far was Arizona State and Texas, and that game shouldn't have been that good. In all honesty, how it started out and how it was looking, it shouldn't have became such a great game, and that's coaching right there. So hopefully that's handled, that's taken care of. Same thing for Penn State. I think James Franklin has been coaching, I would have to say the last 5-6 games differently and better than he has that I would say over the past couple years. Because the offense
Yeah,
is
starting with the
creative.
Minnesota game.
Yeah, the offense
That's
has
the one
been
that really kind of like stuck out to me.
yeah. The offense has been creative. They've been a lot more aggressive on defense in the secondary with their tackling, team tackling. Um, so I would say they just like Ryan Day turned it on right for the playoffs, which is nice, and James Franklin turned it on right before the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it's looks like it's headed for a Big Ten national championship game. Notre Dame's head coach, why can't I think of his name?
Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman. Like I said, I mean, in your second, maybe third year, and you've gotten this team. No one really believed in you.
No.
People believe that you would be a playoff team. I guess.
Yeah.
Since you're not in a conference and you have a chance to win a lot of your games. I don't think they thought. No one thought you'd make it. They thought they would lose to SMU. I did, or not SMU.
Georgia. Or
Georgia.
the first game.
Definitely Georgia.
Yeah.
Definitely Georgia. I thought it was going to end right there, which would have been great experience for him anyway. But I think that Georgia win is the best experience he could have gotten out of this, and could really help them into beating Penn State.
Yeah.
I think Penn State's a better team, at least from what I've seen the past 3 weeks. Past 3 or 4 weeks, at least the end of the season and so far in the playoffs, Penn State's been a better team than Georgia and Notre Dame, because I don't think Notre Dame has really played anybody besides USC, who they struggled with, and even Penn State struggled for a bit there with them too. So I don't know. It's just who I think who would like to get. Hopefully, Penn State for James Franklin and Ryan Day don't let the nerves get to them. Those are the two coaches that I worry about with nerves.
So you should add. So I honestly, all four of them have the same quality. But
the reason why I say I wouldn't do Marcus is because like really ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah. I think Sark is the worst when it comes to the nerves. I think so, and I think this is a good way to transition. But like you were saying with the Penn State Notre Dame, right? So we got into the coaches. So let's talk about it on the field a little bit. I think that this game is basically they're the same team, right? And the funny thing about it is I was saying in the other preview is that this is literally strength on weakness. It's not strength on strength, it's strength on weakness for both teams, right? They both have great defenses. Notre Dame has an amazing secondary. Penn State doesn't have a single receiver on its roster. It's like not a single receiver on its roster.
I will say that's been a thing so far for a lot of these games where they've gone up against pretty good to great secondaries, and then they put on a show in some form of fashion.
Yeah, but it's been running the ball. They haven't passed the ball well.
The way they pass the ball, they pass the ball that looks like a lot of runs too. But they pass the ball, and that's even if you can't get down the field, you find a way. And that's what I was saying. Like they've been coaching, he's been coaching much better. Yeah,
but that's why I say it's strength on weakness, because when you talk about Penn State, their weakest part of their offense is their wide receivers. The strongest part of Notre Dame's defense is their corners. But in the same vein, Penn State has a really good defense, and Notre Dame's quarterback can't pass the ball, and so somehow he forgot, because he could pass the ball before. Somehow he forgot, and is Penn State and their linebackers and their defensive line going to let you do the quarterback run on them? So this game really
they've been stopping the run.
Yeah.
Like it's nobody's business. And they came in against the best rusher in the country and pretty much stopped him for a good amount of time. He got his little moments, but he was stopped.
Yep. No huge plays.
Mm-mm.
So, and then the thing that they're both going to want to rely on is that they have two really good running backs, right? And they're essentially running teams, right? Notre Notre Dame has three 700-yard rushers. Jeremiah Love, their star. Holy crap! He's only a sophomore. Jeremiah Love, their star running back, had ran for 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. The quarterback ran for 831 yards and 15 touchdowns, and the backup running back ran, who's also somehow a sophomore. Notre Dame's going to be dangerous next year. Ran for 700, especially if they get someone that can pass the ball. Ran for 720 yards and 7 touchdowns. So they have almost 40 rushing touchdowns and roughly 20, almost exactly 2,500 yards running the ball. Like the running is what they do, but Penn State is a good rushing defense. But the thing is, and we said this with Penn State against Boise, they're typically a good rushing defense. They can be got. Ohio State ran the ball, man, and I don't have the stat. I don't have their game by game stats up, but there was two other instances where teams like really ran on them. But it was like boom or bust. It was like you either ran for 170 or you ran for 70. Like there
And,
was no in between. So
I would have to
what is
say,
Notre Dame gonna get? So
I'd say you went up against. I think Oregon was mostly like passing the ball where that game got out of hand. Like they're big plays throwing the ball and still was in it. You went up against two good to great rushing teams in SMU and in Boise State and stopped them cold. I think Penn State is the more aggressive team, especially these last two games compared to Notre Dame. And when you're saying like the QB running the two running backs that are seeming to become elite, they have really great athletes on that defense.
yep.
They tackle. It's the one thing I have noticed about Penn State the last 4 weeks is that not many missed tackles, and you know how much I hate that.
So I would disagree with that, but the missed tackles don't hurt them because they gang tackle.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They miss tackle like individually. They miss tackles, but it doesn't turn into big plays because they're very well coached in that.
That's what
There's
I mean.
never one person there. So
So
collectively,
the play is being made regardless.
yes, the play. Yeah, collectively, the play is being made. Yes, but then on the other side, right? Penn State has 2,000-yard running backs. Katron Allen has 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Starting to do it some more too.
Drew Aller.
Yeah, he's starting to run now.
Has 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, these are the same teams, right? It's two teams who have really strong defenses, really strong secondaries, and aggressive defensive coordinators. It's two teams who have solid offensive lines, really good running backs, questionable quarterbacks, and just straight up bad wide receivers. The one thing that Penn State has, though, is they have Tyler Warren.
I was about to say number 46 or whatever his number is.
4 maybe.
I don't know if it's 46 or 43, something like one of those.
I think it's 44.
You know,
it doesn't matter. We all know who he is when we see him.
Yeah.
So like they have him, and he's a stud. But the thing with it though, and it's sort of like the Ohio State game, a good defense can take him out of the game, at least to where like he can't single-handedly beat you. So this game is strength on weakness, right? It's two teams who want to win the same way. It is two teams who are kind of in that Midwest bruising style that are going to have to run the ball. Yeah.
So I know Drew Aller doesn't make a lot of mistakes in the fact of turning the ball over. That I don't know how much Notre Dame's quarterback and how they are with handling the ball, but I do see that even though Drew Aller is a questionable quarterback, he doesn't like to turn the ball over, which is
correct.
I think really help a team, especially a team that runs the ball and doesn't get off the field as an offense. Yes. As long as I don't turn the ball over and we keep running for 6 yards, we're good. We're good.
But that's the question is, can either of them run for 6 yards?
I think Penn State probably can. I get it, but I think just Notre Dame's been playing well. I think Penn State's just been playing better.
I don't think either of them is going to average more than like 4.1 yards per carry. And 4 is solid, especially in the NFL. I think that this is I think like unless if someone makes a mistake, anything can happen. But if they play to the level that they've both been playing, this is giving 19-13. This is giving 17-14, something like that. It's going to be a close game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I think there's going to be a lot of defense. And
I
this
think we
game,
might see closer to 30 than what you're saying.
that's that is that
27-24 type
that's not happening. These two teams, that's not going to happen. I hope you're right because it'd make the game more entertaining. This is going to be like 19-13. And this game is going to be won on one of two things. It's going to be one like Notre Dame won the Georgia game with a sack fumble that set them up for a touchdown, or how Penn State won the SMU game with like a pick six. Like it's going to be whoever makes the one mistake, or it's three things. So those two things, and then the last one is if someone breaks off a 60-yard touchdown run, something like that. And it's just kind of like backbreaking because I think they're both going to play the same way. And they're legitimately, they're effectively the same team. So I think it's going to make
that's the case. Penn State's the better team. So I think Penn State's the better team.
I think if I was ranking them in the college football game, I'd give both of them like 88s. But the last thing and the other thing that's going to matter in this game is both of these teams are really beat up. Abdul Carter is supposed to play, but he got injured in the last game. Notre Dame is already missing their starting quarterback. One of, if not their best defensive lineman, just got injured. I think Penn State has some injuries on the offensive line. So this is also kind of a battle of attrition. And especially losing two of your better players being on the defensive line, one on each team, that's going to matter in pass rush, and that's going to matter in stopping the run. So that is definitely something to pay attention to.
Very true.
Do you have a prediction?
Penn State. I really do think Penn State 27-24.
Okay. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go 19-13.
Okay. Notre Dame.
I'm gonna go Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Notre Dame 19-13.
You want the easier opponent in the national championship? I see.
Well, yeah, I do. I also just can't think of. I worry about James Franklin in this game more than I worry about Marcus Freeman. And as we've said all year, I have not been impressed with Penn State's offense. I'm also not impressed with Notre Dame's offense, to be fair. But I think that this game really just hinges on who can make the one play. So Ohio State, Texas. I'm really interested in your opinions on this. I don't know how much you've watched Texas. I don't think Texas is a good team. I think Texas is the worst team that we've played so far, outside of Tennessee and Oregon. And
okay, in the playoffs.
Yeah. Not all year. That's crazy. But like,
didn't y'all play Kent?
Yeah, and I think that everyone's talking about the offense, and it's fun because everyone cares about the offense. Jim Knowles' defense is designed to stop this offense. They've also played this offense 3 times already. Indiana runs this offense. Tennessee runs this offense. Oregon runs this offense. And by this offense, what I mean is offense that are heavily schemed, right? This is not about the talent of the quarterback, it's just the offense. They're heavily schemed, kind of in the Shanahan style, which is again why Shanahan hasn't won a Super Bowl. It's very much like, I want you to throw where I'm telling you to throw. I'm going to get this particular receiver open. There's not a lot of full field reads. There's not a lot of traditional concepts. It's a lot of motion and misdirection. And it's a lot of short passes and trying to make things happen in space. of the four teams that I mentioned, Texas, Indiana, Oregon, and Tennessee, they have the worst, in my opinion, offense. They have the maybe the third best running game, and that's just because it's not consistent. But as far as kind of like the overall kind of package, I think they have maybe the third best of that. Again, we've seen it back to back, right? That doesn't help them, and I just think that is a really hard defense. That's a hard offense to run against our defense. But then specifically when you add in Quinn Ewers into the picture, who is a good quarterback, but he has one fatal flaw, and it's a more fatal flaw than anyone that we played so far, in my opinion. Um, he gets confused very easily. And when he gets confused, he either takes sacks or he throws interceptions, right? Nico is young, but he could run. Quinn doesn't really run, right? Dylan Gabriel has been in college for 6 years. He doesn't get confused. That's why they beat us the first time. And Curtis Rourke is just kind of like a really good snappy play. He didn't really get confused. He just got beat the fuck up. Like he was like, but Quinn gets confused. And the reason why Quinn is considering staying in college another year instead of going to the NFL, which is when he's supposed to, this is his fourth year in college. He's not going to the NFL. Maybe it's his third year. I don't know. But he was supposed to go to the NFL this year, and they're saying that he probably won't. And this is a confusing defense, right? And so before we talk about the offense, before we talk about Ryan Day, before we talk about Jeremiah Smith, before we talk about all of these things, the number one question for me is how does Texas score? And I don't have the answer to that.
I mean, it's possible to score on this defense. Let's not act like it's not. I know it's difficult, but it is possible. And sometimes I know they haven't so far, but it's not to say let's not act like there's times where this team comes out a little slumbery, a little sleepy. And that could bite them in the butt for a quick minute. So
but that hasn't been the defense though.
No, I mean, it's happened.
The defense has given it. The only bad game that the defense has played all year was Oregon, and it still held Oregon below its average. It allowed 31 points. Like they haven't allowed more than 30. They've barely allowed more than 17 in any of the other games. And some of the other ones they did, like this Oregon game when they allowed 21, it was after they went up 34 to nothing, and they started playing backups. Like this is the best defense in the country. The biggest problem with the defense, which you don't know if they're going to maintain, although you give them credit for maintaining it for the last 3 games, is their pass rush. But they've been blitzing more. In the last 2 games, they haven't even needed to blitz. But outside of the Oregon game, this defense has been rock solid. Even in the game that it lost to Michigan, it gave up 13 points, 10 points, something like that. Like,
well, that wasn't a good offense at all.
Yeah. So I just think that's the thing that I'm kind of stuck on before we go anywhere else is Jim Knowles has coached against this offense before because it was in the big. It's the point of the 3 safety defense. It's legitimately the point of the 3 safety defense. But then also as a team, as a collective, they played this style of offense the last 2 games. So unless you have something new, it's going to be hard to attack this defense because it's not new to them.
You just have to be disciplined, honestly.
Yeah. The one area for Texas is the other thing for Texas. We've seen this in how they beat Clemson and how they almost lost to Arizona State. Their offense is really only good when they get big plays, and Ohio State doesn't allow big plays. Like just the only team that they've allowed big plays against was Oregon.
Mhm.
And so they don't allow long runs.
I
They
think
don't allow deep passes.
in those two games though, Texas does have at least that's what I'm saying. It's possible and they've shown it. It's just they have to be they show it over. They're possible to dink and move the ball down the field for a long drive. It is possible. I think they did it in both games. I know they did it against Arizona. I didn't watch Texas Clemson because like I just even to see them lose, I really don't care to watch Clemson. I
Yeah.
just don't. So I didn't see that game, but I think they did have at least one drive where it took some time and they were able to move down the field. Granted, different defense, but I'm not saying it's not possible. Saw Michigan do it. Michigan took a long drive. It just didn't finish it, but they took a. I've actually seen a few teams take long drives down the team. Now, if they finished it or not, that's fair. That is a fair statement to bring up. But there are teams that have been able to move down the field on this defense and get into the red zone. You usually don't break when you get there, but you have been able to. You have been proven to bend. It's really just about for Texas being disciplined enough to when you get them to bend, then make them break at least once or twice.
But and that's fair. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is Ohio State has the best red zone defense in the country.
Yes, I said
So
that. Like a lot of those teams.
and
Now, while that does happen, but
Texas
I'm
is
saying it is possible.
yeah, and Texas's kicker has been awful the last 3 games.
I don't
So
know
they
a
really
single
don't.
kicker that has been good. So
But Notre Dame's kicker somehow kicked 3 45-yard field goals in their game and won. So that was huge for them. But I mean, like Texas, like if we're talking previously, Texas kicker missed 2 kicks, one inside of 40 yards, which is why that game went to double overtime. So like,
mm-hmm.
so how does Texas? Because we should be fair to Texas. How does Texas win? The number one way that Texas wins, and that's why I wanted to focus on the defense, because I think Ohio State could still win this game just off the strength of their defense. But the number one way that Texas wins is Ryan Day is starting to smell his own shit and feels really good about the 2 wins and just doesn't show up. And that is always going to be a possibility with Ryan Day. And that
Because
the
it's happened
offense,
before. It's happened in
yes,
the middle. It happened this season where you thought like he
yes.
was feeling himself, lost to Oregon, feeling himself, and
I
struggled again.
disagree. I won't give you the Oregon thing. I
You
won't
don't
give
think he
you
was feeling himself?
that. No, I think
Not going into
I,
that game.
no.
You don't think he was feeling himself
I
going
think
into that game?
I don't
You
know what the hell
question
he was doing.
his coaching decisions in the
I
decision
know. So
making, and you
yes,
don't think
but
he was smelling himself going
no,
into that game. Okay.
no. I like that's the thing that we typically disagree with Ryan Day. I
Mhm.
disagree with your reasoning for it. I don't disagree with the outcome and that he coached a really bad game. I don't think it was because he was feeling himself. I'm like, we don't have to get into that.
Mhm.
He maybe redeemed himself. He'll redeem himself if he wins a national championship. But it is very possible for him to lose that edge that he's had in the last 2 games. It's very possible for him to forget that he has Jeremiah Smith on the field. It's very possible for him to make really questionable decisions that keeps Texas in this game.
Very.
Um,
I do think one thing is that I don't. If they were smart, I don't think Texas plays defense the same way Oregon did. I don't understand the man to man coverage and legit just one on one. Like
I don't know, man.
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't even I don't understand that because the whole time I'm like, stop it.
Yeah,
Like the whole time I was like,
play,
please play a different defense.
Play zone. Play zone.
Stop it. Like play something else. Do something. If you're gonna do man, have somebody double him at least.
Yeah.
Like yeah, that was weird defense because after a while I was like, did the cornerback do something?
Yeah.
And you're punishing him just in the playoff game. Like I don't understand what's going on. Did he himself go, I got this, coach? Because I would have been like, no, you don't.
You trusted him? I mean, that's what Ohio State did the first game. They just trusted the corner. He said, I got this. And he gave up 168 yards and 2 touchdowns or something like that. Like, yeah. I think that the other one that Texas, first of all, they have to have big plays, right? They should have lost Arizona State. You know how they beat Arizona State? Their first drive, 3 plays, touchdown. And then they kickoff return or a punt return for a touchdown. That is 2 drives that were big plays. Both of those plays were over 30 yards. And then a special team touchdown. That's 14 points. The rest of the time they got outscored. If you do the math, Arizona State outrushed them, outpassed them, was more physical, and they still lost because Texas had those big plays. They need something similar like
Not,
that. They need
not
the
only that,
special teams
I do think
touchdown, a
Texas
block
kind of
kick,
went.
a sack fumble, or something like that.
I think Texas also kind of started smelling its own self in that game. Not gonna lie, I think Texas kind of went. I mean, it's Arizona State, and we just kind of like got big heart crushing plays to get up scored. They probably was like, Arizona State's gonna kind of tail off, which kind of happened. Not gonna lie, Arizona State for 2 quarters did absolutely nothing until the middle of the third.
Yeah, but I think that also speaks to the coaching and the lack of focus. Texas fans have complained about that all year, that they lose their focus in big games or when they get up, because they almost let Clemson come back too. So
because I will say that for a lot of that game, nothing. Arizona couldn't do anything. Legit couldn't do anything on offense. They Texas was like lackadaisical on offense themselves, but on defense, for a while, nothing. It was just 1-2 plays, and next thing you know, Arizona State was back in the game. But for most of that game, Arizona State was doing absolutely nothing.
They weren't scoring.
They weren't moving the ball really either.
They moved the ball the whole game.
No.
Yeah, they did. They had multiple. They had Dante. They had multiple trips into the red zone, but their kicker sucked. They went for it on 4th down.
They had a few drops, but I watched a lot of that game.
I know that first half they had 2 or 3 separate trips into Texas's red zone that ended on a block.
Even in the
2 bad 4th down conversions.
Because the scoring plays to get them back into the game they didn't see the red zone. It was just 2 huge plays that just happened. Which is like, again, like you could, just like I said about Ohio State, you can get all the way there. If nothing happens, nothing happens.
Yeah, but you can't say they got all the way there and then say they didn't move the ball.
I mean,
they moved the ball the whole game.
I guess. I mean, I said, like, again, even a lot of that could have still been those yardages could have been much less if they didn't have those 2 big plays where it's just like, I think Texas got way too lackadaisical because they weren't that lackadaisical on defense and then got really lackadaisical because the first touchdown that got them into the game was a trick play, which you didn't think would have really happened because Buddy couldn't even move. What's his name?
Scatterboo.
Okay.
So the first drive, they get to the Texas 22. They make a field goal. Then they 3 and out. The next drive that they have a good drive. So they do that. Texas scores. They 3 and out. Texas gets a punt return touchdown. Then they 3 and out. So it's 14-3. The next drive, they get to the Texas 25. So this is 4 drives. 2 of them they get into the red zone. They get on downs.
25 is not the red zone.
It's the high red. Okay, they get to the high red zone. You're gonna be mad about the 25 versus the 20.
It's not the red zone.
Oh, it's the high. Okay, Dante.
It's not the
red. They go out on downs. The next drive is the first drive that I talked about was 11 plays. The next drive is 9 plays. They get to the 34, 4th and 10. They get sacked. The next one is 12 plays, and they get to the Texas 19, and they get the field goal blocked. The next drive is 11 plays, 62 yards. They get down to the Texas 2, and they go on downs. They were in the Texas red zone the majority of their drives. They had a blocked field goal and 2 or 3 drives that ended on 4th downs because they didn't want to kick after the blocked field goal. They moved the ball in Texas. They just couldn't do anything in the red zone.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I mean, my biggest thing is I just think that I think of the playoff teams, Texas is the worst that we played. Of the playoff teams, Texas has, and everyone does this. When I say worst, I don't mean bad. Texas is a good team. They have a good quarterback. They have a good offensive line. They have a stud freshman pass rusher. They have an All-American at corner. They are not a bad team.
You
But
think Texas is worse than Tennessee?
yes.
Okay.
And I think I think Texas is worse than Tennessee, especially at full strength. Tennessee has a better offensive line. They have a better defensive line. They have a better running back. I would give Texas the quarterback, but Tennessee's is more dynamic. But he's young. Whatever, you can call that whatever.
Don't Texas got like 3 quarterbacks?
2, depending on how you feel about Arch Manning.
Mhm.
Okay, so
I don't know. What do we get? Only 4 games of Archie? Maybe even less.
yeah, something like that. But he's going to be the guy next year. I mean, they're saying that.
I was about to say, I don't even know if we got enough to have an opinion.
Yeah,
At least not for me.
they're saying that Quinn is coming back to college, but not at Texas. They're moving on to Archie. I wonder if they're going to live to regret that. We'll see. I mean, we'll be here next year to find out. So I think
Where did he go then?
Who
Oregon needs a quarterback, I guess.
Yeah, Oregon may finally try to do the young guy thing after back-to-back transfers.
Never mind that.
Yeah, he might go to Georgia.
I was about to say Georgia, Alabama, I guess.
Alabama needs a quarterback. I mean, basically every SEC team needs a quarterback. This was not a great year for quarterbacks in that conference. If Penn State beats Notre Dame, there's a chance that Drew Aller follows the hype train and goes to the NFL. Then they could need a quarterback.
Is he?
He's eligible.
In his third. He's eligible.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
He's at his first year, and then he started the last 2.
That counts as eligibility? I thought a redshirt year means
he didn't redshirt. He was the backup quarterback. He just sat because he didn't start, but he played in those games. Yeah, okay. He was the backup quarterback as a freshman because Penn State didn't have nobody on their roster. Okay, so do you have any final thoughts on Ohio State, Texas, and preview?
Nah,
prediction.
Yeah. Prediction. OSU. I don't know. I have no clue. I'm just going. I think OSU wins. I don't know the score. I don't know.
Yeah, I have OSU 34-17.
Okay.
I think it's another. I think Texas gets a score late. It's like 31-7 in the fourth quarter. Texas scores twice, gets a field goal and a touchdown, makes it 17. Which really sucks to say because it's hard to continue to have faith in Ryan Day, but I do genuinely believe that Texas is the worst of the 3 teams that we played, and so as long as the players show up, they should still be able to find a way to win this game. All right, so as always, you know that we end this show with our pit stop. Our pit stop is a time where we take a break and we, don't talk about football. Sometimes we talk about the NFL. Sometimes we talk about other things. Do you have a pit stop today?
I got a small one. Did you see Mufasa?
Not yet.
Good movie.
I've seen it.
It's a good movie. Doesn't deserve to be nominated for anything this year. Like immediately.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I saw that.
I've just seen all the jokes about what did you say about my brother?
Bruh, I saw it in theaters and I was like, why are you singing it like that? Stop singing it like that. And then in my head, I was like, why are they singing? Oh, fuck. The first Lion King was a fucking musical. These are musicals. I keep forgetting. But
at least it was solid because the Lion King remake that they did live action was horrid.
I heard it was terrible. I heard it was
horrid.
Awful.
It was so bad.
So the thing is that it has for like I think it was like an not NCAA or NAACP or something type of award, or there's some type of black award things for movies, and it was doing voice acting. It has 3 nominations, and one of the nominations I don't want to get killed for this. I don't want y'all to attack me for this because I know you love her mother. She was barely in the movie. To get nominated for an award when you're barely, when I say for a 2-hour movie, 25 lines.
Hey, maybe she killed them 25 lines.
Okay,
Not
all right. I mean, but when I
not on
any
Beyonce's
kid,
internet.
any kid can read. I that's what I'm
No.
saying. But I don't want to be killed. I
Beyonce, yeah, you don't have to move on. Beyonce is currently burning TikTok down. And she doesn't even know it. A conversation
I
about
was about to say
Beyonce being a propagandist is
the other two
literally
voice actors don't
burning
deserve to be there
TikTok
either.
down.
Oh,
So we're not
shit.
going to talk about Beyonce.
The other two voice actors for that movie don't deserve to be there either.
Yeah, not talking about brother.
Man, and the crazy thing is that was an American doing a British accent, I believe.
Hey, they be taking our jobs. We getting their jobs.
Mufasa was a British man doing an American accent.
Come on, bro. I guess we won one in that one. we tied up.
It was fucking weird until they both had to sing, and they both did the brother thing. In the song, and I'm like,
somebody. That's because they talked about it, and they say, you know, it'd be fire. you know, it'd be fire. Listen to this.
We're gonna go viral for this. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. We're going viral for this.
They did go viral.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. I thought it was hilarious, but that's the only thing I got. It's just I good movie. Don't think it deserves nominations for anything. Unless you want to say best editing or like graphics and stuff. Be my guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Be my guess. But acting.
That's hilarious. Mine is quick. So some of you know this, some of you don't, who've listened for a while. I am a member of a historically Black fraternity named Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And the day that you are listening to this is our Founders Day, i.e. the day that we became an organization, and we are celebrating 111 years, which anything celebrating 100 years is important, but specifically historically Black institutions making it that far is huge. If for whatever reason you feel like doing research, you can research the Divine Nine. There are obviously more, but the Divine Nine are kind of the large ones, the main ones. The majority of them are all founded within like a 10 or so year span in the early 1900s, when Black people were barely allowed to go to colleges, and they definitely weren't allowed to join historically white fraternities that have been around longer. And so it's just a testament to Black history. It's a testament, a lot of people who, when you think about Black movements, the Civil Rights Movement, the Harlem Renaissance, you think about a lot of these things in the United States. You think about the scholars and the poets and, let's be honest, if you're not Black and you don't know a lot about Black history because this country doesn't teach you, a lot of the Black people whose name you know are in one of these fraternities. Not all, of course, but a lot of them are. Martin Luther King, right? And so on and so forth. I mean, I only said one, and then I said so on and so forth. Zora Neale Hurston, a lot of these people.
Isn't Kamala Harris?
Yes, yep. She's in one. So we're celebrating that.
I forgot. I don't know if she's diamond or loose neck. I know. I'm sorry. I'm disrespectful. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's an AKA.
Okay, whip the hair back and forth. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yep. So, that's it. Just we'll be celebrating 111 years. I'm actually going down to Maryland to celebrate with some people.
Nice.
And so it just but also happy Founders Day to my fraternity, but also happy Founders Day to the freaking majority of us, because most of us are in.
Let's say y'all was
Kappas are in January. Phi Sigmas are in January. Deltas are in January, AKAs are in January, and Zetas are in January. So 5 of the. Hold on. That's 5. Iotas are September. Qs and Alpha. Qs are November. Alphas are December. Oh, and SCROs are November. So 5 of the 9 are in January. So happy, if anyone's listening to this, if you know anyone or whatever, happy Founders Day to all of the Divine Nine. And that's it. That's my pit stop. Go Mob, and we will catch you next week.